So I think what we might be struggling with as human beings is species-wide complex trauma. An individual can have CPTSD, but I think collectively we struggle with that because we haven't addressed just the centuries of violence that we've caused to each other, and to our plant and animal relatives, our families, different cultures, to Mother Earth herself. So there's a lot of pain that we're moving through, and that's why Earth seems like such a hell realm right now, because it's a collection of all of our traumas and our the consequences of our actions. So, like plastic in the ocean and violent television shows, like all of those are a product of, I believe, our trauma, like collectively. And if we keep feeding into that culture, we continue to dissociate from our bodies and our spirits and who we are, and try to find a substitute in, a virtual reality space or something like that. But that's not reality. It's a constructed reality that is mostly ego-based, because the human ego has created these virtual realities that feel safe to us, but there's actually a lot of danger in being trapped in that ego state, and we need to be grounded. We need to be grounded by Mother Earth's energy, because we are her as well. We come from her. We're her children, and I think we've forgotten that. I think I read a study recently that shared that electrons from Mother Earth actually come up and help us neutralize our positive charge. So when we're wearing tennis shoes or we're inside all the time, then we're actually not very grounded and physically grounded, like electricity. And I think in the West, sort of this idea of evil or darkness is very scary. People are afraid of witchcraft and dark magic and things, but actually the dark or the divine feminine energy is just yin energy in Eastern culture. So if you think of the Tao, it's yin and yang. And even if there is evil in the world, we need to witness it. We can't turn away from it and pretend that it's not happening, and dissociate, because that's actually allowing it to fester. I think the accumulation of physical, emotional, spiritual garbage on Earth is triggering our collective awakening. And, right now a lot of us exist in these very, especially in Western countries, individualistic, me, I, subject-object relations. but we're being asked to evolve out of that egocentric mindset into a wider awareness of our surroundings and seeing, for example, our plant and animal and air and water relatives as beings, as alive, as sentient as well. And indigenous cultures have always known this. And I think the ego of colonization has kind of come to a head. It's kind of come to an end. And that's why there's so much authoritarianism. There's so much scramble for power because people are terrified of what it would mean without the human ego. What would life look like? But in fact, in my awakening process, I have struggled with this myself, feeling like I lost my sense of identity when I woke up, feeling like I needed to prove something of myself to be worthy of life. But in fact, we are all worthy. We're just inherently worthy because of our aliveness and our consciousness and our interconnectedness with the whole. And so when we evolve, when we become more conscious, I believe what's going to happen is that ego, kind of colonial ego, technological construct is going to have to be integrated into the wider context of a more evolved consciousness, like a wider understanding. Carolyn Mace, in her book Anatomy of the Spirit, wrote, like, we are evolving from a linear to a holographic understanding of ourselves, or holographic way of being, which I really love that. I've become very interested in the confluence of spiritual concepts with quantum physics. Definitely not a scientist by any means, but I really love learning about the discoveries of this field, because I think it's kind of showing that non-duality, sort of that interconnected matrix of life that a lot of spiritual frameworks have like hypothesized. So I think it's going to be a very exciting time in the next few years and decades as we learn more. And I really like this quote by Dr. John Liu. He was a BBC reporter, became a regenerative agricultural activist, leader, and he said, "Nature's not in trouble. Human beings are in trouble, and if we don't, get our stuff together, then we won't be able to survive, because nature would have no problem regenerating herself after our destruction. She's regenerated herself so many times. Mother Earth has lived for millennia, and so we are so young. We are so new in this ecosystem of the planet. And so something I've been trying to learn something I've tried to get better at is receiving. So learning how to receive Mother Earth's abundance. Not demand it, not ask for it. Not try to save her, or not try to save animals or plants. Because like that quote, I think we need to be humble in terms of our relationship with other beings here, because I think that they've developed so many different strategies. You know, birds can fly, cats can like catch things with their hands and with their paws, and like trees can survive hundreds of years being rooted to the same exact spot, you know? And yeah, I think even though humans have a very complex brain and anatomy, it's like we need to humble ourselves and recognize that there's so many different forms of intelligence beyond the mind. Yes, it's great that we've created so many inventions and, you know, innovations, but what does that mean if we're not grounded, if we're not in the physical, in a healed state, right? If we're just dissociated. I don't believe that that's a very meaningful way to live. And it's also not a very responsible way to be in relationship with the beings that support us and that we're interconnected with. And so I think it would cause a lot less suffering if we just woke up to that fact.